Okay, now that we have the furnace prepped, we've covered all the vents in the house, it's time to start blowing them out. And basically, if you think of the system like a tree, you're basically starting at the end of the branches and blowing all the debris and stuff back into the main trunk lines. There's a couple different tools you can use, actually quite a few. The most common two is a simple air gun. Using the air gun, you want to make sure you should have at least 175 psi air pressure. The other tool that's commonly used is a forward skip line. And basically what it is, it's a rigid line. It's got the forward skip ball on the front, on the top of it, of course. And you just hook it up to your air and you force it down the vent. And these are really good for like large houses that have large vent runs from the top floor all the way down to the furnace. That way you can get quite a ways down the vent itself. There's also whips that you can use, brushes, all sorts of stuff. They all work and they all have their uses in it. You know, it's good to have a wide variety of them when approaching any job. For an example, I'll just blow this vent out real quick with the air gun so you can see what I usually do. I should be wearing safety glasses and ear protection, but I'm not. But basically you want to just start down the vent, try and get it in the middle, and you want to give it a good blow just to clear as much as you can. And after you've cleared the vent, that's where you want to kind of work your way up with lighter air around the outsides, get all the dust down. And it's also good to carry a rag so you can wipe out the vent after you've done your initial blow of it. And then again, you know, you should be spending a good minute to minute and a half per vent to make sure it's clean. The other thing you can do is after you've done blowing, you know, cleaning the vent, you've spent that minute or two blowing it out, you can put the vent back on top. You can use your air pipe, stick it back down, get the pressure going, cover it with the bag. You can feel the suction cover, like sucking the bag down. You can also lift it up and plop it back down, and that'll help jar and move that more debris towards the main trunk line. Okay, we've blown all the supply side vents, or hot vents as I called them earlier, and now it's time to skip the ductwork. So we're on the main supply side trunk line, which is right here. I have my holes cut to access the ductwork. So basically there's a few different types of agitation tools for skipper lining or cleaning the supply side main ducts. The one I have in my hand here is just a rigid, it's a more rigid reverse skip line. Basically you just put this inside the ductwork, you turn the air pressure on, which blows back towards you. I have it pretty low, so it's a pretty high pressure tool, but you send this right down to the end of the duct and you kind of twist it around between your thumbs and your fingers and pull it back towards you. And you do that a few times and you're pulling all the dust and debris back towards the vacuum. So another very simple tool that's very common in the industry is just a simple little whip line. It's just very small PVC tubing. It's hooked up into your air pressure. And it's just looped on the end, as you can see the little loop. And it's the same idea as the skip line with the skipper bolt, is you just send this back down to the end of the duct. You can get a lot more play out of them by twisting around between your thumb and your fingers. And you just do the same idea. Send it down to the end of the duct, pull all the dust and debris back towards the vacuum. Okay, the last agitation tool I'm going to show you is the Scorpion whip set. Basically what it is a series of rods. Some are stiffer than others. They hook together, and there's various types of whips and stuff that you can put on to the end of the rods. There's thicker whips, shorter whips, longer whips, all sorts of stuff that you can get for these that attach to the end. And basically you feed this back to the end of the duct and pull it back, but this stuff will just whip around the whole surface area of the ductwork. I'll hook it one up and give you an idea. So you get the idea of what that does. A very efficient tool for cleaning ductwork. Now, along with the agitation tools I just showed you to clean the main trunk lines, you can also buy brush kits. There's different brushes that come in different sizes. They can run on a drill, they can be air driven. And like I said, a whole variety of tools at your disposal to use, and they all have their benefits to using. So it's good to have as many different types of agitation tools as possible, just to give you the biggest scope you can and have every tool that you need to clean a ductwork system properly. Okay, so now that we're done skip lining and cleaning the main trunk line, the main supply trunk line or hot trunk line, we're going to remove our hose now. Like so. And the pads we put in here earlier, you're just going to pull those out. And make sure when you're taking these pads out that you're really careful. Try and not take your time to make sure that you roll them out properly so debris is not going to, you're going to defeat the purpose of putting the pad in there if you're not careful removing it. And that just comes right out. And of course there'll be a ton of debris on here, so you have to be careful. Just set that to the side. And the hose goes back in. Okay, so now we've removed the pad that caught all the debris from falling on top of the coils. We've rehooked the vacuum back up, and basically now you have to clean these AC coils. Now a lot of times you can leave the vacuum hooked up, and a lot of furnaces have these panels on the AC. Now you can remove this panel and clean it out with your air gun. Clean the top of the coil with your air gun, or you can cut a hole. If you don't have a panel, you can cut a hole. You can go through a humidifier access and put your trouble light in it. Just depends on what you have to work with. But basically you want to cut access holes, or you can remove a panel. And then you use your air gun to clean the coils out. Just got to make sure that you're not too close to the coil with your pressure. Because if you're too close to the coil, you can end up bending those fins back. And that's the last thing you want to do, is start bending fins in a coil. It's not going to let the air flow through them. So you have to be really careful with any type of coil. The other thing to remember that is a good idea is they have these drain hoses on the bottom that lets the excess moisture drop from it's a drain hose for the tray for the AC coil. Now I like to remove these just so that I'm not plugging this coil with any little debris that might have got past the vacuum or got past the pad. And then also you can use your air to clean out this. Make sure this little drain is free before you hook everything back up. The one thing to remember is always hook this back up after you're done. You can't forget that, otherwise it's going to drain moisture all over the furnace. Hooks up just like that.